Richards trying to scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease.
Let's get it.
Oh my God! Here we go.
You're listening to the Street Bullies podcast with your hosts, Derek.
How you gonna get it, Bubba?
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Cody.
What's not to love?
What is happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Street Bullies. My name is Derek.
And I am John. What's going on, everybody?
And as always, we are joined by the Matt Casey.
Wow.
I'm feeling so healthy. It's awesome. I'm feeling really good. Hoagie, how you feeling?
I feel like crap, but I'm back.
He's like, guys, can we do it Tuesday? It's like, yeah, sure, buddy. Then he's like, hey, guys, I'm a game time decision. I'm feeling a little ill. I'm like hell you are.
Yeah, game time like D'Angelo's a game time decision. You're on the bench, dude.
I'm here,
Not even on the bench. You're up in the box, pal.
fully geared up.
It's all right. You don't talk much. You'll be okay.
Just let me know when you need it.
Hoagie, take the night off, would you?
We got
Just
this.
work the ones and twos for us.
There you go.
All right. Well, it's our first official offseason episode now that the Flyers are not in the playoffs. I mean, we could have said that for the past 2 months, but regardless, NHL playoffs going on right now. Lightning are up on the Leafs, which is fantastic. Love it. Big game between the Rangers and Devils. Who you guys pulling for in that series?
I'm pulling for like a nuclear bomb on that stadium. Like I want both those teams and their fan bases out.
Well, you know, I was really having a hard time until I walked through Penn Station today. And the amount of like New York Rangers book bags that I saw all of a sudden, I'm like, oh yeah, you guys can go away. You guys can lose. Devils can lose.
Devils fans, it's like, you know what? Good for you, Devils. You've been through the gauntlet for the last 5-6 years. Like,
No. They won how many off seasons? I don't want to hear it.
No, but you have to legitimately be a fan to like stick by the Devils.
Sure.
You're right.
That
You're right.
long. Like the Rangers fans are just like, ooh, daddy got the corporate box. Meanwhile, Gob and I totally got like corporate box treatment when we were out there.
You guys earned it. Don't sell yourself short. You earned that.
It's just, I mean, it's the same thing with the Knicks and everything else. It's like they don't care about it, and then all of a sudden, let's go Rangers. Let's go Rangers.
Yeah, go to hell.
My friend, you have no idea the pain the Rangers are going to put on people.
No, I'm really interested. We actually here with PSP, we all decided to fill out a bracket for the playoffs. So we'll kind of follow that as the episodes go along and how the series go as well. But real quick, I guess before we really get into some Flyer stuff, let's fill a little bit of time. Who all do we have winning the Stanley Cup here? I'll start with you, John.
The Edmonton Oilers.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like Connor McDavid at some point's got to win one. And I
Did
didn't.
they lose last night? They lost.
Yeah.
Last
They did.
Yeah, they
OT.
did.
Overtime.
Yeah, they coughed up the lead in the third period. But I haven't beaten the Bruins.
Yep. All right, Casey, who you got?
I got Vegas beating Toronto.
Wow.
You just like flipping a coin every time.
No rhyme or reason. My rationale is I don't like. Again, I can't handle the Rangers or the Devils winning, and I do not want the Bruins to win. I'm so
Wipe
tired.
out
of
everybody he
wipe
hates.
them out.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Toronto, like they got to be due for something, like at least to make it past the first round. And then the Western Conference, I was like, I know nothing about any of these teams.
That was the hardest one.
That was my rationale. It was really great.
Yeah. All right, Hoagie, who you got in the finals?
I took Bruins over Avalanche.
All right. I feel like that's a safe pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top
I
seed.
had the same
These things.
I had the same Stanley Cup final as John. But I think I went Boston.
That's what you said yesterday. You went
Then,
Boston.
let's
That'd be
go off of that.
sweet if we
Oh,
had.
you went out on a limb. Nice.
Right? It'd be between, like go figure. If it's those two teams, dude, I swear to God, things are going to get ugly on this podcast.
Most
I will be the biggest Bruins fan.
amped up battle for nothing.
Right. Just bragging rights. That's
Can't
all I
even
need.
point out Edmonton on a map. But
Somewhere north,
Great,
right?
Great White North.
I'm not kidding. I thought Edmonton was like over by like right next to Vancouver. It's not.
no, it's by Calgary, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah,
Yep.
it's not.
Wow.
That's why it's called
Is it in
I'll
the
learn my
plains?
Canadian geography some other time, I guess.
Yeah, what's that rivalry? The Battle of
Battle-
Alberta.
Alberta?
Yeah.
And then Winnipeg is somewhere over there too.
Mhm.
Wait,
Yeah.
I never hear nice things about
Winnipeg's
Winnipeg.
way up north, from what I
Yeah.
understand.
I've been in August. Winnipeg is a delight.
Fun
Yeah, but
fact.
like
That's
the
about it.
crazy thing is like Minnesota is Canada's Mexico.
right.
Like wolf.
my
Going
God.
south of the border to Minnesota. Woo!
Anyway.
Fun fact: I have
Yeah.
Winnipeg upsetting Vegas in the first round.
Wow.
Yeah.
Put a little money on that game tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Winnipeg beating Vegas.
I think Winnipeg can do it.
Yeah.
I'm not like entirely confident, and that was literally just a shot in the dark. But I'm like, I got to pick an upset somewhere. That's
Right.
it's got to be in the Western Conference because, like Matt said, I don't know dick about those teams.
Right.
All right, so obviously Stanley Cup playoffs are going on right now. Flyers have nothing to do with that, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing going on. There are, I should say, will be plenty to go on. We've got the draft lottery coming up in about 2-3 weeks now. I think 3 weeks. That's a safe bet. Yeah, let's go that. But we also want to recap the season, how it went, and basically talk about our sheer disappointment. But to kind of recap, the Flyers, 7th in the Metro, 14th in the Eastern Conference, finished with a 31, 38, and 13 record for 75 points. Pretty abysmal season. So wrapping everything up, final thoughts on how this season went. Let's just write the eulogy. John Gove.
Well, at the beginning of this season, I said something along the lines of they could lose every single game this season, but as long as they kept it close and made it competitive, I'd be happy. And like,
Are you happy, John? Are
I
you?
Are you happy now?
I mean, no, I'm not happy, but I can't, I can't be incredibly disappointed. This team was not a team that was built for success. And they were competitive. I mean, I could probably count on, I don't know, 1.5 hands, how many games they didn't show up for. And that's progress, So I look at this season as, what, an identity is starting to be formed. There is a culture change, which we've been clamoring for, right? There's that standard that's been set, and we now see an actual direction,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that realistically, you can't ask for anything more from what was set up to be an awful season, except for maybe JVR getting traded for a 4th round pick.
We're traded it all. Way to go, Chuck. Anyways, Casey, give us your final thoughts on how that season unfolded.
Yeah, look, it's disappointing not to make the playoffs. There's no doubt about it, but I don't think any of us had delusions that this team would be a playoff team. I mean, I think maybe we were above 500 for like 48 hours, like, and that was it. And that was it. But as John said, it's progress. I feel last offseason I felt no optimism.
Right.
And I'm about as optimistic as the four of us get on this podcast at least, and I felt nothing last year. And this year, at the very least, you have the start of a core group of players, and it's not revolving around Hayes or Giroux or anyone like that. It is an actual like sustainable long-term goal core with the potential of having some of those, the Coots and the Atkinsons and, still with Lawton and TK, like still chipping in. So like I have some optimism, but it was really just, finding out, I think they said this at the beginning, they're finding out what we have. And I think we got a lot of answers there, which I look as positive, and I think we're finally going in the right direction. It's just at a snail's pace.
Mm-hmm. I say you were nodding your head a lot there, Hoagie. So you agree with a lot of what Casey just said?
Yeah, but I mean, I was still trying to hang my hat on of them going to the playoffs. But
oh boy,
I knew. I was just hoping that they would kind of be like that bubble team, because I feel like they were better than what we kind of gave them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we had some pieces that weren't hurt, Couturier, Atkinson, not even mentioning Ryan Ellis because who cares about that guy
Who?
anymore, right? Like
Who's that guy?
I think a couple of those additions really kind of push us to a different level. Maybe not like playoff success, but something right around there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like you said, Casey, it was finding out who we are, and Tord said it all season. It's an open audition all season. Like we went into training camp, it was an audition, and he still kept his mind open and still wanted to see who he thought to be part of the solution going forward.
Yeah. I think the one hopeful thing that I'm looking at just after pulling up some stats, like you had Konechny was over a point per game player, albeit, 22 games short of a full season. You had a guy like Owen Tippett with 27 goals in 77 games. And the rest of the scoring, I guess dense would be the best word for it. You had a lot of guys right around that 40 to 30 mark. Like, starting with obviously Tippett with 49, Frost had 46 points.
Yeah.
Like, can we talk a little bit about that?
How many goals did he have? What was it, like 15?
Frost had 19 goals,
19.
27 assists.
Didn't he like put up like 30 something points in like the last 20 games?
He
I think it was
on,
since
like, a
December.
60
He's been
game
like
pace.
our leading scorer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played incredibly well down the stretch, and I think that shows two things. One, I think he should get a contract. I think he should be with the team, and we'll get into that obviously as the offseason goes on. But two, it shows the motivation, it shows the drive, because A, he's playing for a contract, and B, he knows he's on the bubble. Like, this is a guy that before this season, everybody's like, we need to see something. If we don't, it's out of here. You're gone. You're with another team.
I'd moved on from him at this. I mean, this point last year, I was done.
I did too. And
Right.
I remember in the offseason, I'm almost positive what we did was say, like, if he has 15 goals and like 25 assists, we'll consider that.
Right.
I think he was like the benchmark for us during the offseason last year. And I mean, he surpassed it. He was at 46. So I mean, that was in
not happy.
Yeah, never satisfied. But like, I think it's fair to say that, if he continues at the pace he did since I think it was January or December, we could have a solid option for 2C potentially, given this team's depth as constructed right now.
Right.
Especially with the potential loss of Kevin Hayes. Good Lord. Oh, I'm still amped up from WrestleMania a couple weeks ago. But with the potential loss of Kevin Hayes, I think we could call it inevitable at this point. I think you could slot him into the 2C role if you're not looking to, put a guy like Noah Cates there.
Right.
I mean,
Gives you options. That's
it does. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, at a position we've lacked so much depth at for how many years now.
And I think the thing is too, it's like the Flyers have come out and said rebuild. Morgan Frost has done enough now to be like, okay, let's commit more to this guy, because it's like maybe by the time we are ready, he'll be that legitimate 2C,
Yeah. He fits that timeline, I think.
I think I keep going back to this. I think I've said it like 3 episodes in a row now, yet nobody's listening. That this rebuild started more than a year ago. It's just people just refuse.
The last 3 episodes, Casey, you've been saying that for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Before it even happened, you were saying it.
It started, last December or, whatever, like whenever it was obvious that we were going to trade Giroux.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like we're not starting from scratch from a rebuild. We are starting with like actually a good core of, I guess, the under 24 is how you like define like the young players there.
Right. That was just run by an erase ahead.
Right. The other thing I'll say is, Hoagie, I get your point that if we were a little bit, we wanted to be closer to a bubble team. If we had won half of those overtime games, so we went to overtime 13 times and lost.
If we'd have won 6 of them.
Right. It still doesn't get you there, but it gets you closer.
What if Konechny never gets hurt?
Right.
right? I
Fair
mean, when
point.
we lost Konechny, forget it. We didn't know how to offense. We were just like, what do you do with this thing?
Spinning wheels.
What is this black circular disc thing that I'm supposed to be hitting? Right. But I mean, imagine if he doesn't get hurt. I almost feel like we would have been a lot closer. Not only
Right.
we would have been
Sure.
a playoff team, but we would have like the last week or two still been in the hunt.
Yes.
as
6
they call it.
wins. You chip away 6 wins off like the overtime losses.
Mhm.
That's 12 extra points. You're sitting at 87 points.
Six
Like,
six
that's-
extra points.
That's what 4 points.
Oh yeah,
behind.
6 extra points. I'm sorry. My math is bad.
All right. Yeah. Hold on. Let
I'm
me
not the
carry
teacher here.
one.
Like I don't know why you expect me to be good at math.
Yeah, but I mean those
come on,
those
Excel's
6
cabinet.
points only put you a point above the Capitals and still 10 behind the Penguins. So
Yeah.
Look at
I
you
get it.
flaunt your-
So
I get it,
I'm
though,
the
but-
dumb one here. Okay.
There's a definitive difference in a mindset when you are only 6 points out of a playoff spot versus 12 points out of a playoff spot
Sure.
with 6 weeks to go. You know
Right,
what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so, like, I think that there's, and I'm still not saying that we would have made it there, but what I'm saying is we are, a couple things fall our way from an injury and an overtime standpoint. It's a lot closer than people think that it actually is.
Right.
Sure. Absolutely. And I mean, there were bright spots this year. There were certainly bright spots. Like we all,
For sure.
any rational fan of this team understood what we were going into this year. This
Right.
wasn't going to be, oh, I'm hopeful we're going to, make a push for the playoffs. No, you're delusional if you think that.
Weren't we in first
Okay.
place at one point?
yes,
Yeah.
Like
when
5 games in.
Games had been played.
yeah.
But, right. I was like, this is our year, guys. This is
No,
our year.
the first like 2 weeks of the season, people were like, "Oh, well, no, it's just the early. We came in better shape." It's like, shut up. We're winning games. Shut up.
Have fun.
While it lasts.
Mhm. Yeah. Also, I want to point out, and Hoagie's going to like this one. Scott Lawton had a career year surpassing his previous career highs by 11 points. He had 18 goals, which is 5 more than his career high, 25 assists, which is 5 more than his career high.
Trade bait.
That's kind of what I was getting at.
It's a fair question.
That's
Is
I
value
think
ever
that
going to
might
get
be-
higher?
That might be
I
a
don't know.
conversation for a different time, but
Right.
What, he's got 2 more years, or has he got 1 more year on his deal?
especially if they look at Noah Cates as
Hoagie's looking up at his Lawton poster above.
Oh,
him.
yeah. I mean, think about how long we've been saying
He's
that.
got 3 more years. 3
Oh,
3 mil.
Oh,
He
he's got
signed
3
through
more years.
26.
for $3 million. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I'm
a
fine with
movable
that.
contract.
Absolutely. Now,
I
Chuck
mean-
didn't give him a no movement clause, though, did he?
He did not.
Wow.
He was the only
way
one
he
who
was
didn't get
throwing
one.
those things out. Jesus.
Right.
But no, John brings up a fantastic point. With the emergence of Cates, if he remains consistent and keeps growing into his role with this team, we talked about it at length for I can't tell you how many times, like back to Matt Casey. I've been saying this for 2 years. Like, no Cates could be very similar, if not better, I think could be better than Scott Lawton and a Scott Lawton type player.
Hoagie's already not feeling well.
That's
I
fine.
I mean no
The writing-
disrespect,
the
guy. You
writing's
know
on the
this.
Hoagie just
wall.
vomited right there. It would have been so good.
All right, so if we want to compare the two, Noah Cates is on. He's a RFA, right?
Hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
What kind of contract are you giving him?
I mean, it's not like
Not
he's an
3.
offensive dynamo or anything. He'll probably get like a
Buck
1.5, 1.5.
I was going to say 1.2 to 1.6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Tippett got a 2-year, 1.5 extension.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
1.5 2 years. Yep.
Oh, he's gonna get more than that on that next deal, that's for sure.
He'll sign
Good.
this. He'll be signing the day before the season starts, probably.
Yeah, and then he'll play like shit like Sanheim did. Oh boy. Still can't get over that. Still can't get over that.
there
goddamn
was just so many random things that happened this season that like
deal. Do you
you
now,
just shake your head at.
like the hindsight being 2020, like do you think Fletcher knew the writing was on the wall and he's just like, this is my parting shot? Like
The problem with Chuck Fletcher was, I don't know. I mean, I have girls, so I don't know if your kids play with these or Hoagie if you play with these, but those little like boards with the sticker characters, and you could like put different sticker clothes on them, or you can put like a
Yeah.
car in the thing.
I know what
but you
you're
can kind
talking
of
about, yeah.
decorate any way you want. That was Chuck Fletcher's sticker board. Was the Philadelphia Flyers just like, let's put this number with this guy and trade these draft picks for that guy? Isn't that pretty?
Dude, Speaking of toys, just quick sidebar. My cousin, who's like I think 10 or 11, got an Orbeez gun. Like Orbeez,
Hell yeah.
What is
and it's
Orbeez?
like a little
It's like
gel
a little
thing.
gel bead.
Yeah,
Oh.
and they're hard, but like they're soft. Like they break apart. Like remember
but-
those Super Balls you had that break apart? They're like hard. They're like
Mhm.
But if
plastic
you
and
get
rubber.
shot with one, it hurts.
Well, so he's like running around with it
Sounds
on
like
Sunday.
fun.
We're all at dinner, and he's like, "Hey, Sully, come here." And my 3-year-old
shit.
son is standing there, "Pa, pa, 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 pa," and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
Like, Dad, I like this, and I'm like, "I bet you do, buddy." I'm like, "Finger
Nope.
off the trigger."
right.
Oh, I've never been more scared in my life.
Speaking of
Anyways,
fingers on triggers, Flyers media availability.
yes, sir. So I'll be completely honest here. I didn't watch too much of it. I think the only one I watched was Delorier. And I thought that was cool
That's what you
because,
went with?
well, yeah. Listen,
Him
man,
over Lesinski?
guilty. Sorry. But no, I heard the tidbits. I heard, the notable quotes from the big guys like, your Tortorellas and Konechny's and things like that. But so of you folks here who have gotten to listen to this, let's bring up some interesting tidbits that you want to touch on. So who's got one?
I'll start out here. I think the most obvious one is Hayes. It's been reported even by internal Flyers personnel, mainly Meltzer and Martinez, that like he just sounded like he was saying goodbye to and everybody said like it was basically saying goodbye to him. Like it's apparent. It's been apparent for months. He's gone, and it's okay. Like didn't quite work out. He had a little bit of a flash in the pan the first season. We were all psyched, but it's just this is a sign that just it flopped. And there's no way to like sugarcoat it that this was not a successful move. And I don't necessarily blame Chuck. Hey, you took a swing. I'd rather do that versus be like, oh, let's overpay for Tony D. What the hell? John looks like he's wearing gun goggles now.
Gomer Pyle over there.
This is my rifle.
So
No.
I think the Hayes thing, it needs to happen. It was mentioned on Flyers Daily that they even sounded like he knows where he's going to go, and I would assume that it's a Columbus or Boston move.
Yeah.
Sunny Columbus.
Everybody loves Columbus.
So I think that's the biggest storyline, and when you match that with Ford's consistently saying addition by subtraction, and we got to get younger, like. Yeah, we all know who you're talking about. Like Braun's out, JVR is out. We know that. Have fun, guys. Fly, ride into the sunset. But Hayes is the next one on the block there.
Yeah, I agree. I think
Breaking
that
news
on the wall.
Really went out on a limb on that one.
Yeah.
Right, shocker. And he didn't by all standards here. Like he didn't have a bad season. 54 points. He had.
Well, he fell off the face of the earth towards
he
the
did,
end.
but he started hot. Like he started pretty hot and was doing pretty well. Was a point per game player, I think, through 30 odd games, something like that.
Yeah,
You know,
and he
so-
got
He's just the
scratched.
kind of player where it's like individual stats are fine, but it seems like he does nothing for the team as a whole.
But he's a locker room guy.
Or he was.
Well, you can get those guys, like Keith Yandel, but
Glad that experiment worked out.
yeah, he was a locker room guy, which is why no one else picked him up. But regardless, that's a great point. I think a lot of people have really. I know Sanfilippo mentioned it on his podcast that that it's almost a done deal. Like he's going to Columbus, and I mean you had to kind of see that with Gaudreau going there, the tie there.
Really, it's such an interesting destination for me because,
Yeah,
I mean,
Columbus,
unless Kevin Hayes truly just wants to play hockey with his friends, what else is the selling point right now?
Right.
like that team is
Cost of
rebuilding.
living?
Cost
I
of
mean, they
living.
could get a high draft pick, sure, but how would Kevin Hayes fit that timeline? I think that's the curious thing to me, at least.
Yeah, right. I don't know. It's puzzling to me, but
Yeah. What stuck out to you the most from those exit interviews, Hoagie?
I'll be with you, Derek. I didn't watch them or anything
great
like that.
stuff.
Good stuff, guys. Oh, man.
But
Good stuff.
I just Casey forwarded that article over. What was that, over the weekend or whatever?
Mhm.
the TDA news where you just didn't really want to comment on Tortorella benching him and stuff like that. That was real interesting stuff. I know that's probably a hot topic that everybody's been talking about, but like he says he wants to play here. He says it's been a dream to be a Flyer, but then I feel like we've heard other news that he wants to get out. And he's done. I'm so puzzled by the whole scenario.
You guys want to peek behind the curtain? Got a little peek behind the
I'll
curtain.
peek behind your curtain any day there, buddy.
So from what I heard, D'Angelo had an injury that he was like open to playing through. He was like, I don't know if it was a wrist or something like that. Something that wasn't brutal, but
sure,
ready to play through it for the last couple games. Tort says, no, you're not doing it. You're injured. Take a seat. He then doesn't show up to a skate saying, no, I'm injured. If I'm injured, I'm not showing up to this skate. And Tort said, you mama fungu, you. And get your ass on the bench, Tony.
Where's Tony?
Oh man,
Go get me Tony.
So I think it was like a small thing that then just snowballed in a pure Italian stubbornness aspect between the two of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that.
Unconfirmed, but that's what I heard.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, think of how many guys on this team want to play through injury, have played through injury, were rushed back from injuries, and are just, chronically injured. So I get the desire to want to play, but at the same rate too, I think it was a good thing that D'Angelo was out because then we saw guys like Yinning, he came up, Adard came up, you got a glimpse of some of the guys that are waiting in the wings right now, because inevitably you're probably looking at, maybe a third of the defense being turned over here, meaning like an entire pair. So you could be looking at Provorov, Sanheim, maybe D'Angelo. I don't know. You get a good look at guys like, I think Adard played well. I think Yinning was I didn't expect much, but I thought the one game was
pretty decent when he was up as well. Zamula was okay.
Towards the end,
he looked better.
Yeah. But the one, I forget which game it was, but the one Yinning game, it was brutal. He took a bad penalty. I was like,
I'm still not psyched about bringing all of them up at once, though.
No.
That scares the living crap out of me.
Right.
No.
But I mean, is that even going to be possible? Like, at most, the Flyers will get rid of 2 defensemen. Offseason, where it's
Braun's gone,
Right.
Yeah. But even Heap was more of a 7th defenseman. They kept him in the last couple games because that's his last go around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whatever. As long as Sealer's here to anchor us, we're good.
We'll be safe.
The thing with D'Angelo before we move past him is you heard Tortorella throughout the year being like, conflict is a good thing, right? Like that you can get positives out of conflict, and I almost wonder if he views Tony D'Angelo as that. Like, he's somebody who clearly wants to play for this team. He's come out and said it multiple times. Where it's like, I wonder, and it sounded like, in Tortorella and Briere's media availability, which we'll get to next, it does sound like they kind of view Tony D'Angelo as the guy where it's like, yeah, okay, there's some bumps in the road, but if we think we can get this right.
Yeah,
I think I read it somewhere. Maybe it wasn't that article that I sent to you guys, which I think it was Charlie O'Connor's article that he summed up. But I think there was something along the lines of Tortorella likes when guys push back in public.
Right.
Like he likes it when people go back at him. And conversely, he also likes when people like TK or I think it was Frost seek him out and ask, be like, hey, what happened here? But he doesn't like to keep things bundled up, and he's fine with public confrontation.
Right.
And if you want public confrontation, then hey, Tony's your guy.
No, I saw a quote along the same lines. Like, he doesn't seek people out, but people will seek him out, and that's what he respects.
Yeah,
he said that in his media availability yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah.
I respect that. I think that's great.
And I think the guy that stood out for me the most, just because Kevin Hayes was the obvious one.
Mm-hmm.
Tony D'Angelo, I didn't really get the juice that I wanted, right? But Ivan Provorov, to me, it was like, oh yeah, you're gone.
Not as good as last year, though.
Well, but I almost feel like if it had that fire to it, I would have been like, okay, there's
maybe he's
Provorov being Provorov, but Just he was very honest, where he was just like, I've already been a part of a rebuild. Like, this isn't ideal. You know, we had one good year. He openly said that getting along with the coach was hard, and I think that it's a relationship where Tortorella really appreciates Provorov. I don't think that it's necessarily reciprocated. Where I walked away from kind of reading his comments and going,
Doesn't look good.
they've agreed to part ways.
I wonder what the point of contention is between those two. Like, I would wonder, because you would think with Provorov's work ethic and the type of person that he would thrive for a guy like Tortorella who pushes and pushes and pushes, because that's the type of player Provorov is. That guy's a machine.
Well, he's a machine on the ice, but he seems like a pretty tough guy to deal with in a locker room.
Yeah.
From what I heard, I think a big point of contention is Tortorella refusing to put him on the power play in any way, shape, or form. I think that's like,
get out of here.
One of the crux, and like, I can't really blame Tortorella on that. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, not have D'Angelo or Atkins or what's his name? Little guy. York. Little guy. You know, on there, and even, you know, I would argue Sanheim. But I can see where Provorov has a point where it's like, dude, you have Ristolainen on there, and not.
But Provorov has kind of never been good on the
right.
No, he led the defenseman in goals the one year, but like I'm gonna chalk that up as a fluke.
Much. Yeah, I think Provorov thinks more of himself on the power play than everybody else, and I think the contention between Torts and Provi is he has just a dry personality off the ice, that it's hard for them to go back and forth. And like, I kind of just, I was getting that through his comments, even in like in the article. I was like, man, he's just very, very, very dry. He's the coach, I'm the player. And I'm sure that goes back to, you know, the Russian roots and everything. And I was like, holy smokes, this is tough to even read.
I also think it's a lot more than just like Provorov and Tortorella. Like, I think Provorov's been sour on this team for quite some time.
Right.
You know, I think that he's been frustrated that this team hasn't been able to provide him the right partner, which, like,
since the bubble,
we've gone back and forth, and it's like, dude, I mean, at some point the onus has got to be on you a little bit.
Yeah.
But and it also just seems like he's not like a team glue guy. Right. Like, when they're out doing things, he's not. And that's a personal choice. You know, I think that's okay. If that's how you choose to live your life, then go for it. Power to you. But also, you miss out on a lot of those team building moments where you do kind of seem like the outcast.
He's the polar opposite of Hayes. Like, good on the ice, terrible in the locker room. You know, I think when you look at, you know, we know the guys who are gone, and, you know, whether that's JV Armbrong, obviously, and Hayes, we all can agree is likely out of here. But then you have that middle tier of Lots, TK, Provi, Sanheim, you basically can't move at this point. But like, you know, those are the guys who are going to give you the most value. And like with Provorov, like, I think you have to, I think he wants to trade. I think we need to trade him. I think it's just like one of those things where, okay, the timing's right for all parties.
It's going to work.
His contract is palpable. Like, you know, let's see what we can get.
And when you're doing a rebuild, you know, it's like you do need to have a move or two like this, where it's like it just makes sense.
You just need to shake it up in a way.
Yeah. What was the quote that you would mention, John? Like, you know, you have to move the needle. You can't just rearrange the chairs on the deck.
I said that?
That was a while ago. That was a long time ago.
That doesn't sound like John.
Deep. That's really deep.
That is deep, yeah. The one thing John's ever said that I remember.
Not quite as bizarre as I would normally go. Right.
Yeah, that did catch me. I think that's why I remembered it, because it didn't really catch me off guard with one of your weird. Yeah, that's a palatable move. Like, you can get the picks, the prospects, whatever you're looking for in a deal for Provorov. That's not the type where, you know, with a Sanheim, you're probably getting an equal contract back,
right?
And a struggling one at that. With the rest of the team, though, I mean, it seems like that there is going to be some serious ears out there listening in on deals for anybody at this point.
Right.
You know, they've said that none of the players from the whole Canada scandal are going to be moved until things clear up, which, Carter Hart won't be moved until then, if at all. Konechny, I'm sure, is going to get some calls. Like, they're going to be calling on Konechny. That's that. I can all but assure you that. I mean,
I have
because he
very
was our
strong
best
opinions about that. We gotta hold on to that one.
player. Yeah. A lot of this is going to be
Pin in that one.
we've got
Don't
plenty of
rearrange
time.
the furniture.
Yeah, we've got plenty of time this offseason to discuss stuff like that.
What one other, back to the press conferences, what do you guys think of the Atkinson event? Well, John, what did you think about it? Because Hoagie and Derek obviously didn't do their homework.
I mean,
I
like,
did hear Atkinson.
Jesus Christmas, man. It's like the one thing you don't want to hear after all of the injury debacles that this organization has gone through is the word misdiagnosis.
Like 4 times.
Like 4 times. And the fact that, like, if he didn't get this surgery, he could have never played again.
Right.
I just don't know how you get even employed in a position where you're doing stuff like this.
Yeah, I mean, are these like doctors like sitting there with rusty tools, smoking cigarettes, being like, yeah, like it's like the guy who did Joker surgery in the original Batman with Michael Keaton.
They've got like rusty saws and tourniquets.
Yeah,
they're
dude.
just like, we can always hack it off.
It's like the Civil War type.
Yeah,
of-
Civil War.
Give me the blowtorch. We'll just cauterize it.
Like,
There was some
they
solid-
come in with a bowl of leeches. Leech them. Just leech them.
Just suck out the toxins.
Oh my god!
It's put me on the curtain. You see the saw going like in glory.
Oh God. Oh no.
I mean, it was good to see him, and with both Cam and Coots, I have optimism with it. It's obviously like tempered just because of like everything we've been through. But the other thing that I'll say is like the interview that didn't happen, at least to my knowledge, is Ellis is just nowhere to be found.
Who cares?
Which, like,
Right.
no, but like, how
Bullshit.
does that affect it? Like, are we stuck with
He's
that?
done. We're stuck.
Yeah, but I still think like we're still stuck with the money until he retires officially.
He won't retire until that contract's over because he's still getting paid. And I can't blame him. I can't blame him
So it's
one
like
bit.
until the first day of the season when we can put him on LTIR and get cap relief.
We don't
then
have his
we
6
we
and
can't
change.
play with the money.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty
That
much.
sucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
the only
that
thing you can do is
handicaps
trade
us
him
for
to
free
Arizona.
agency. Yeah, and if the Arizona takes him, but that handicaps us during free agency, everything. That puts us $6 million in the hole. To which what are we going to do? Make those moves at the deadline? Like, no, likely we're going to be sellers again. Come next year.
Right.
They really got to find a way to change that. You know what I mean? Like, I totally am all for Ryan Ellis not retiring. I understand that he needs to rake in as much money as possible for him and his family. But, like, I also don't think the team should be punished when a guy is beyond being able to play.
Here's what they need to do is they find a contender who can have him on LTIR, a Tampa Bay, a Vegas, and let him just sit on LTIR.
Doesn't the money count on the cap?
Counting against him too. It's there too.
It counts as the cap during the regular season. As soon as the playoffs start, it's gone.
Yeah. So what they always do, like what they did with Kucherov in Tampa Bay, what they did in Las Vegas with Stone this year, sit him on LTIR all season, and then if he still wants to play and he thinks he can and he's medically cleared, activate him in the playoffs, put him on your third pair. He can play on the power play too. I'm sure he can kill penalties, whatever. Ease him back in, obviously. But there.
Where are you bringing this?
about?
The dude hasn't played in 2 years.
What did you guys not listen to me?
No, I think we all were listening.
Yes,
I don't think you did because I said if he's going to play again,
buddy.
He's not. Dude,
buddy.
never.
Do you guys understand the term
Right. If my
hypothetical?
grandpa Larry rises from the grave and starts
Hypothetical
making me
isn't even a
pancakes,
question
And
all
if
of
my
a
aunt
sudden-
had a dick, she'd be my uncle. But regardless, this is what we're talking about: hypotheticals.
no,
If
There's no hypothetical
going
to
to
talk
come.
about.
you're like
I
you like
stick
to
up
hang
for you
out
all
with
the
those.
time,
You
but
like
I'm
to
gonna
hang out with those
respectfully
people
tell
who
you
I
all
stick
to
up for
shut
you a
the hell
lot too,
up.
but this is I can't with this
Okay.
one.
Let's look at this in a vacuum here.
Derek's going, hey, don't sail too far in that ocean. You'll fall off.
I am done with this. I'm just gonna go pretend like my kid's running out of the bedroom just to get away from you schmucks.
We've only got about 15 minutes left or so, and we haven't talked about Tortorella or Briere's.
So let's talk about Tortorella and Briere. Great segue.
Okay. Great. Like that.
Yeah.
And
So-
the same
Briere
sort of
gonna
side.
move the contract to Brian Ellis.
Right. Well, first and foremost, I mean, how certain are we that they're going to remove the interim title at 100%?
Yeah. There's no way you have Briere do all this stuff and just be like, the fool.
They're not even hiding it at this point.
Right.
And we talked about it, I think, 2 weeks ago now, in regards to like the Tortorella being up in the box, the meeting of the minds, you want to call it that, yada yada yada. So having Tortorella involved, obviously Briere and him picking each other's brains
And noses.
and potentially, yeah, we don't know what happened. I guess Tortorella watched one of the games from the locker room, from what I understand. That's an interesting tidbit.
Call
But
him hand lotion.
just watching, he's just like, oh, Christ, these guys. I forget which podcast I had heard that on. But yeah, I could see him just getting sick and tired of talking to the bigwigs up top. Just like, nope, don't want to talk to you guys anymore. But like, where do we stand on them working together, I guess, in terms of what they're going to be able to accomplish in an off season like this?
They seem in lockstep.
Yep.
They seem to be on the same exact page with almost everything. You know, even Tortorella said that they agree on the players that they should move. And that's a huge difference compared to what we were dealing with Fletcher and Scott and Tortorella.
Yep.
They were all saying different things. I think they seem like a great partnership. I mean, let's see how it translates, right? Briere hasn't had to make a trade or sign anybody yet, but I think in terms of their vision for the team, they seem to be really on the same page.
It's good. I like that.
Yeah,
You need that.
One of the other things I don't know quite what to make of it, other than like, get back to the point that Danny is the guy and the interim is going to be removed, is those exit interviews. It was only Danny in the room. Torts wasn't in there.
Interesting.
And so like that shows the trust in my mind that Torts has with Danny. And it's like, who knows if Brent Flair was in there or any of the other guys. I have no idea. But like
Tortorella
Torts was not in the room, which is and I think the purpose is they wanted, and probably Torts appreciated, he wanted the players to give honest assessments of everything around the team.
Or he just said screw it and went to his home in Montauk.
When he walked a dog.
Yeah, he's walking a dog. So, but no, I'm with you. I think it's good. And look, some of it might be press posturing. I get it, but like I don't necessarily feel that way. I feel like they are in lockstep, that the direction they are going is the direction they're going to go together. And I think they need to be in lockstep, especially if they're going to bring in a new president of hockey operations at some point. They can't be like, they can't have that guy come and be like, okay, guys, here's the new plan. They got to be like, no. We've been working on this. We have it together. Like, here's the plan. You deal with the big wigs when we ask you to. Like,
it's so interesting that that's the last piece.
Oh, it's so ass backwards. It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a little like, it's new territory for me, seeing how our GM and our coach are so in sync with each other. I'm not gonna say it's uncomfortable, but like it's new. And really, after thinking about it, I like it. Yeah, it's the honeymoon.
It's 100% a honeymoon phase.
Yeah, but I like it. I think it's good because then there's an open line of communication. Tortorella can tell Danny Briere exactly how he feels, exactly what he wants, who he wants, whatever it might be. And and establishing that type of rapport this early on, Danny has full right to say, nope, don't like that idea, sorry, or hey, great idea, let's go do this. So I mean, it builds the trust is the best way to put it. And I think having that relationship between your coach and your GM, hopefully nothing but good things come of that.
Well, and the one thing I wanted to mention for what you said, Casey, where it was that Danny Briere was the only one in the exit interviews, at least like between the two of them. I think that like there's going to be a lot of, is John Tortorella the puppeteer?
Yeah.
Right.
Where it's like, is he the one that's actually making the decisions and Danny Briere is just the mouthpiece? And I think by having Briere in the exit interviews and John Tortorella not, they're kind of helping diffuse those conversations.
The marionette.
Right.
I think it's also Tortorella he's already done it, but giving his endorsement of Briere as well.
Yeah.
In that respect.
At the end of the day, though, and this I'll pose it to everybody here, but like does he need Tortorella's endorsement?
No, but it helps.
That absolutely helps.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely
Yeah.
it helps.
Because imagine, right, the coach that you've pretty much built your message around this coach, and he goes, "Yeah, we'll see." Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe I've heard some things about him.
Well, wasn't Briere like part of like the hiring process with Tortorella? So like
He was.
he's obviously towards his
Like, probably vibed with him more than he vibed with Chuck.
exactly like I've said it once. He got the interim tag put on him with Briere. It's a good bridge between the coach, the GM. Now you kind of can loop it in with the players now because
Right.
I think who Couturier is probably like the last player that Briere may have played with, right?
Did they?
I think you're right.
It's like short.
2012. I think they. I think you may have
2012,
crossed over.
Yeah.
Like a small stint. Like
Yeah.
there's still that kind of connection where like they can kind of
Right.
go full circle in a way so that they can just
Yeah.
work together. Like Tortorella said, they're a family, and I
Right.
think this is going to work out really well.
I mean, remember this? Like, Giroux lived in Briere's garage for God's sake.
Right.
Yeah. Slept on the man's couch.
Right.
What I really want to see is, how things work when the new president of Hockey Hop's Ron Hextall.
Oh
comes-
God.
Shut.
Could you imagine?
No.
Dude, I saw that rumor and
He's
like
gone, right? He's at.
he's out of
yeah.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
in
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
They're all gone.
Yeah. Flair or not Flair.
Not
Pryor.
Flair.
Pryor's gone too.
Pryor's gone, and
yep.
the other one, Burke. Yep.
Burke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gone.
that is the best thing that Hextall has done for the Flyers franchise is ruin the Penguins franchise.
Yep.
And
That's what we were
won't lie.
banking on.
I have a lot of respect for Tony and what he does, but man, I saw that and I'm just like, Tony, no, like don't do that. But
Wait, what happened? Tony, what?
Tony,
Androkidis.
Andrew Jakakis.
Androkidis, yeah, he's with what AHL Insider, I think.
I think he is the
he is,
AHL
yeah.
insider.
Yeah, and again, I mean no disrespect to it. Like I think Tony does a fantastic job.
Yeah.
I mean that guy is an absolute warrior when it comes to AHL coverage. But when he tweeted that out, I'm just thinking, I'm like, oh God. But it was short-lived because then the tweet from last night about a scout saying, "Well, would you draft Connor Bedard?" I'm just like,
Oh
are
God.
you? Oh, dude.
I mean, but that guy is a first grade moron.
well,
Yeah.
we
It makes me look
wrote
smart.
with- Were you there at Philly
N-
Sports Network? when he was?
No,
I
no.
was.
I mean, I've had some run-ins with him though.
I had, dude. I had like a
That
run in
came up.
behind the scenes that I texted him, because this is how he's always been, and I'm not gonna,
Yeah,
go
but
through
we're
mud
live.
raking. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't care at this point.
It.
I told him like, cut it with the sources. You're killing our credibility, and he just doubled down, and I'm like, get the fuck out. Just like this is stupid. But
Mm.
anyways, yeah, that's
Horses.
yeah, no. But what else are we gonna talk about in the offseason?
Can I tell you, man? I could listen to John Tortorella talk about hockey
Dude,
for
I would love to
hours.
have a
boy.
conversation with him about hockey.
I mean, I do think he gets a little TED talky at times where it's like, all right, like save it for your book, brother. Like,
Right.
but it really is. He's just got a fascinating mind.
And a plethora of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when he sits down with Martinez, it's like a canvas interview because the two of them just break down the game and just so many
But then
different
they go
levels.
into the dog stuff, and I'm like,
All right.
snore.
Yeah.
Oh, don't you have a chihuahua on your lap?
Yeah.
Tell us about that
But
little
when,
guy.
but when it's hockey talk, I can just listen to him.
No,
I mean,
it's,
I'll listen to John Tortorella talk about a dog.
it's interesting because you see him, in his older age, go from the tactician and the operational coach to much more of the big picture coach, which is what we're seeing now. And like, it's just it's cool seeing from like a business standpoint. I study all that kind of crap, and so like, it's cool seeing it come to life in the sports world.
You want to talk about accountability? You want to talk about accountability? This dog here crapped all over my floor. Who showed up with a bag and some paper towels? The dog. He was cleaning up his own mess. That's the type of accountability I'm looking for here.
We took a field trip to my house, the team and I, just so they could watch the dog scoop up its own shit.
And then it helped with the horses out back.
You know
Wait,
what would
didn't he
be
get kicked by a horse? Didn't
He
Tortorella
did.
literally get kicked by a horse?
Yeah.
I'm sure
In
he
the-
kicked the horse.
Preseason or
Yeah,
right? It was preseason, or
yeah.
early season. Yeah, he got kicked in the head.
One thing you wouldn't want to miss, and I would love to see this or hear it, I guess is the best way to put it. John Tortorella on Spittin' Chicklets. Could you imagine how good
They
that would
hate
be?
him.
I hate
I'm sure
I mean,
he
I don't
hates
care.
them.
I just
But that would
recently-
make it so much more
yeah.
fun to listen to.
I don't even
mean-
listen to him. I don't give him the time of day.
When
I
two
try
people
to
that don't
once in a
like each
while,
other,
but
that's why
they-
this show is so much fun, because John and Hoagie hate each other. Like that, I love that stuff.
I don't have a strong enough emotion towards Hoagie to hate him.
There's a disdain.
Anyway, expectations.
None.
For the
Expectations for the offseason?
Yeah.
None. If you have none, you're not disappointed.
Bedard or bust.
I mean, you two are just great tonight. I feel like my expectation is there's going to be some serious change, and I don't think that's necessarily going to be like 5 or 6 people get traded, but I do think that there are going to be at least 2 more well-known names, more impact players that are
favorites.
gone.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think Kevin Hayes is a fan favorite.
Well,
Do you?
That I'm not really
Some
talking
I would
about.
say unexpected.
I think unexpected like fan favorites, like a Konechny or a Lawton or
Yeah,
someone along those lines.
but I mean, but my own like expectation or something that I need to see happen is like we can't go backwards.
Mhm.
I
We
understand
can't run it back again.
Well, I just
Yeah,
mean more
Hoagie.
along the lines of like we can't regress. Like we've made some progress this year where even if it's more young kids, I need to see a few more wins. You know, I can't see them trade a bunch of people where we completely suck. And I don't think they're going to. I don't think it's a burn it down type
Mhm.
situation.
They've said that.
Right.
Briere has said that he's not burning it down to the studs. He's got the
Right.
foundation.
Yeah, I think they do too. You know, there's pieces in place that you can build
It's tear
around.
it down to the studs.
But that's a good title for
There it is. Someone's gonna have to
Podcast.
reiterate that
Burning
one.
it down to the studs.
You're welcome.
Burn
Doesn't
it down
not
to the
make
studs.
sense, but
With some
yeah.
schneid.
Construction.
Yeah, John,
Oh,
I'm with you. I think we're gonna see Hayes and then at least one other legit name get moved. I would argue we're gonna see Hayes, Provorov, and then one other name.
Yep.
And then who knows? Maybe it might be more than that. I don't know. I just don't. I think we need to be realistic in like, dude, you can't move 6 players
Right.
in an off season. Like maybe
You're
you
already
can-
losing
maybe if there's a-
JVR and Braun.
maybe there's a package deal to be had where another team's willing to go like 3 in 3 out or something like that.
Right.
But
Blockbusters.
you just don't see it very. You don't see the Mark Recchi, John LeClaire
Right.
trades
Never.
very much
Yeah.
anymore.
I mean,
That's
it's
in the NBA.
yeah, right. But you're going to see, just in terms of the roster turnaround, like JVR's gone, Braun's gone.
Right.
You're going to see, like Casey said, probably 3 guys that are you want to call maybe some of them fan favorites, but key pieces to this team. They're going to be moved. This team's going to look very different from the offseason from last year, which was much different from the offseason prior.
Yeah, I mean,
You're going to
just
see
think
a
4
lot
years
of
ago
faces.
how different
Oh,
this
yeah.
team has become.
When you had Voracek, Simmons, even like to an extent, I don't know if it was 4 years ago, but Shen too. Like, I mean,
Shen was more than that.
that was what was that, like 6,
7.
7, something like
when
that?
did we draft that Jim Nolan
Patrick.
2017?
2017.
Yeah.
I want to see some
Yikes.
creativity too. Like
Yeah.
we have 2 first-round draft picks next year. You know, I mean, one thing that Chuck Fletcher really lacked was creativity, and I'd like to just see like, okay, we have 2 draft picks next year. Instead of having those, maybe we go and trade for a prospect with somebody else's farm system that we believe could be something a little bit sooner than what the draft choice would be. You know, I just do something that like we can't easily think of.
Right.
Do your job, essentially. Do what you're paid to do.
You know, and who's up for extensions next season? Like maybe don't sign them to an 8-year deal.
Right.
Right
Don't-
before puck drop on the first game of the goddamn year.
I'll tell you
Still
what
has the
would like
napkin, too, that motherfucker.
for Briere to somehow win our hearts. He would somehow, if he could somehow move that Sanheim contract without eating more than half of it, I would be amazed.
Yeah.
I still, again, I stand by what I said. I think it's a hockey trade right there. And I don't think you're eating anything. I think it's
getting
just
the
a
same deal.
Atkinson Voracek type deal. You know,
Right.
2 players,
Yeah.
still quality players, but
But
in
can you
this
get
case-
somebody with 6 years of term versus 8 years of term? You know, like,
Well, Uyghur. I mean, we talked about it. Uyghur has like
Uyghur's-
an
it's
identical
the same
contract.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so I don't know if
But
you're
he's a
going to
little
kill
bit
off
old,
some
but he's a
term.
little older though.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to kill off any term from the deal. Like, but I couldn't give you any more comparables. But you know,
What if Danny Briere only signs or trades for people from Minnesota?
looks like we're getting the Brzezinskis.
Oh my God,
The
no,
Mexico of
no.
Canada.
He's writing notes to himself. Like anybody with Minnesota ties, he just has to stay away stay away from for 1 season. He's just
Right.
like
Throw them off the scent.
right.
All right. So, anything else that we want to touch on here before we wrap things up?
No, I want to go sleepies.
Yeah, so do I.
I'm not sleepy.
I do want sleepy.
All right then. Hoagie,
All right then.
Oh,
do you have a dad joke, Andy, or are we gonna skip
No,
it this week?
no.
We
no.
can skip
We're
it for
done.
John's
We're
sake.
done. There's no more. He was off the show for like a solid month and a half. There's no more dad jokes.
Listen, it's like a return in wrestling. Like the longer you're away, the
No.
more fond the heart grows, and then when they come back,
Yo,
it's
did you
a
see
huge pop.
Trish Stratus? She was
Did I
50
see
years
Trish
old and she's
Stratus?
still smoke show.
Dude. Let me tell you about the first time I saw Trish
No,
Stratus.
I don't want to. This is a kid show.
dear
So
Lord.
anyway,
It's
you
a
can
kid's
find
show.
us and all of our affiliates.
All right, Casey, kick us off with your spiel.
Hey, Pottery Casey, Twitter, do it.
Hoagie.
I don't know if it's an FT or a street. I never remember.
Pot Street Hoes on the Twitter app.
And John.
I didn't miss that. You can find this podcast on all your various podcast listening receptacles, and it'll be great.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, it will. It'll
You
be great.
found it.
You found us.
You did it. Look,
We
I know,
did it.
You don't really need to find this podcast. You did.
You
it.
already found us.
You found this
Oh,
Congratulations.
no, now you know.
You're one of 7 listeners. Congratulations. You made it. You can find me on Twitter, Pod Street Bob, John on Twitter, Pod Street Gove, all of us on Twitter, Pod SD Bullies. You can find our affiliates, Flyers High and Wide on Twitter at Flyers HW. Our fellas over at the 5 Minute Major Podcast at 5 Min Major Pod. And that's it. I'm going to go enjoy a few drinks. And hopefully the kids asleep.
Damn, Tuesday night. Nice.
Bye now.
Bye now.
Why not?
Hoagie coming